Texas Governor Greg Abbott blames wind turbines, Green New Deal policies for the electric outages in Texas. Is he right? Well, it's time to trust but verify. Hello from Washington, D.C., our national capital. I'm Chuck Kyle, a 30-year strategic planner, a strategic communications expert, retired intelligence officer, and a D.C. transplant from West Virginia. Oh, I was also a Texas guardsman, so this one's kind of interesting. With millions of Texans still without power in the wake of the historic freezing conditions, it's time to play the blame game. Democrats are blaming Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, for failing to prepare for the storm adequately. Many conservatives are blaming the environmental movement, insisting that frozen wind turbines show the limits of alternative energy sources. However, experts say the most significant problem in Texas is the supply of natural gas and the fact that extreme temperatures cause pipes to freeze across the state. Not many wind turbines. But the primary fall guy right now is the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, also known as ERCOT. It's an independent organization that operates the vast majority of Texas power. Quote, "This is a total failure by ERCOT," says Greg Abbott in mid-February, adding, "These are experts. These are engineers for the power industry. These aren't bureaucrats or whatever the case may be. These are specialists, and government has to rely upon these specialists to be able to deliver in these types of situations." However, let us break this down and see what the truth is. As you might guess, the problem is slightly, well, really a lot more complicated than that. It's actually rooted in Texas' view of being a quasi-independent country and their own desire to have little federal interference in their lives as possible. As the Texas Tribune wrote in 2011, quote, "Texas's secessionist inclinations have at least one modern outlet, the electric grid. To understand what happened right now in Texas and who's to blame, well, we have to do a little history lesson. In 1935, President Franklin Roosevelt signed the Federal Power Act, which governs electricity sharing and sales between states. This allows the federal government to regulate states who brought power across their state lines as it is bought and sold between states during times of need. So Texas, never a fan of federal intrusion of any sort, set up their own power grid, split into northern and southern parts of the state to avoid any federal involvement, and this eventually led to the formation of ERCOT in 1970. There are three power grids in the United States. We have the Eastern Power Grid, the Western Power Grid, and Texas. Yep, Texas all by itself. The part of Texas that's not covered by ERCOT, which is predominantly El Paso, in the western, it's actually part of the Western Power Grid. They currently have power. Texas can't merely borrow power between either the Eastern or the Western power grids. That's not been a problem in the past because Texas, which is rich in natural resources, has always generated more power than what Texans could use. Well, until last week. So there's no question that ERCOT itself does bear some of the blame. Their only purpose is to manage the power grid, and as we've seen, they failed at their job. ERCOT, which is a nonprofit organization that's overseen by the Public Utility Commission of Texas and the state legislature. And for their part, they've used what they call controlled outages to keep Texas from going completely dark. And although they are struggling with the frigid temperatures to get it all back online, the state power is, they say, slowly being fixed. Now here's the reality in the situation, what's happening in Texas. Plenty of blame goes around. But like I said, the roots of the Texas current crisis can be traced back for their desire for independence. The state has chosen to be electrically independent. Let's go back to today. The problem is that the Texas power grid is built around their miserable August days. You remember in the beginning when I said I was a Texas guardsman? Well, I lived in Austin for about 3 years, and I understand this. I mean, oh my gosh, in August, middle of August, 106 degrees, horrible. 60% of the homes for heating purposes are powered by electricity. The other 40% are powered by natural gas. Right now, there's competition for natural gas. During the summer, it all goes to power plants to create electricity. Right now, a lot of it's going for heating, and there's not enough to go around. Then you have the frozen pipes with the natural gas. You have power plants who can't get water. Some wind turbines have frozen. It's kind of the perfect storm of issues. As we've talked about in this channel numerous times, it's a matter of supply and demand. When the demand was more significant than the supply, ERCOT started doing rolling blackouts. In the last 5 days, all their primary power production is down 25%. Natural gas, wind, coal, nuclear, only solar has outperformed. Regarding those wind turbines, Texas made a decision. They invested in the cheapest ones they could find. They don't have carbon fiber blades. They don't have de-icing because they never thought it would get this cold. The natural gas pipelines and the cooling water intakes, they're all frozen. So some wind turbines have frozen, but this wasn't an issue of the Green New Deal or renewables. It was a decision on maintaining their fuel infrastructure and the Texan view of being independent. So, if you like this video and the content, hit the like button and subscribe. When you subscribe, add in the comments, I subscribe. And until next time, trust but verify.